First Warning Weather Alert.
Good evening to you. I'm Valerie Lyon. Snow is falling across the tri-state as that massive winter storm makes its way across the country. And we're also getting dozens of closings coming in, so scan that QR code on the bottom of your screen at any point and it will take you to our website with that full list of closures. Now here's a live look outside over downtown Cincinnati where things are looking snowy. Yeah, it's been falling for a little bit here. I was just outside, had to go home real quick. Roads are getting a little slick right there. Now we do have team coverage starting with Chief Meteorologist Steve Raleigh. We also have meteorologist Mark Stitz joining us. They got a breakdown of everything to expect. Hey there, guys.
Yeah, hi, Val. We have really just had kind of snow right now, and that's what we expected. You know, a little dusting around the area. You can see it from our roof camera in the shot you had and the one that's behind me for our 9 First Warning Weather Alert Day. And the cameras around the area are showing just this very light snow that's been happening. One of the biggest things tonight has been that Arctic cold air, and that will be a big factor why it snows so much tomorrow. 12 degrees outside now, wind chills at 4 below, and temperatures around the tri-state are pretty similar in all the communities. And these wind chills are that cold at -1, 1, 0. You folks in Lebanon and Batavia lucky to have a feels-like temperature of 5 degrees. So here's our 9 First Warning Doppler radar network. As you look at it, it's just been that very light dusting, light snow. There's been a little bit more stretching up by southeast Indiana, northern Butler County, and up by Dayton. They've had a little bit more in a light to almost moderate snow, but it hasn't really been much around here, quite frankly. So let's take a look at all our cameras, give you the best look around the tri-state. And as we do, you can see some of that light dusting in some locations around the tri-state. Certainly in Versailles, they've had a little bit out there by the Welcome Center in Ripley County. Now with a look at the forecast, here's meteorologist Mark Stitz.
Thank you, Steve. Yeah, it's not just the snow, it's that brutal cold out there as well. But I want to time out the snow for you here and show you kind of hour by hour almost of how heavy that snow is expected to be. So start off tonight, the snow, like Steve mentioned, is going to stay on the light side early tonight. So minimal travel impacts, although watch for little slippery spots early on. But really overnight into Sunday morning, that snow is really going to pick up. And at times we are going to see heavy snow Sunday morning into the afternoon. And then as we go into Sunday night, very quickly the snow comes to an end. So Monday morning we're dry, but there will be a whole lot of snow on the ground, and the impact of that snow will continue. So let's now talk about how much we're expecting across the tri-state. First up, by 9, 10 o'clock tonight, most of us under an inch of snow still on the ground at that point. By midnight, 1 to 3 inches will be common. And 8 o'clock tomorrow morning, like I said, the snow's picking up at that point. So we're expecting 4 to 6 inches on the ground at that point. Then as we go into early tomorrow afternoon, there's 1 o'clock, I think 6 to 9 inch totals will be common. And like I said, it's going to wrap up in the evening hours tomorrow. And at that point, 8 to 12 inch totals will be common. Now, the exception could be south and east of greater Cincinnati. You guys tomorrow morning and afternoon could see a little bit of sleet, maybe a couple pockets of freezing rain mixed in. Obviously, that would cause slippery pockets as well, but it would reduce your snow totals by maybe a couple of inches. So as we look ahead also to the cold coming with the snow tomorrow, we're looking at teens in the morning, still around 19 at lunchtime, and maybe we get to 20 tomorrow afternoon. And then as we look ahead to tomorrow evening, as that snow begins to come to an end, we're right back down into those teens. But we are looking at a brutal stretch of cold throughout pretty much the entire Super 9-day forecast. We'll talk totals and impacts with the snow more, and of course look ahead to some of those wind chills coming our way as you head back to work and school a little bit later in the week coming up.
All right, so we know things are not too crazy right now, but we got a long weekend ahead. Crews are working around the clock to keep roads clear and safe across the tri-state. And we've heard some spots are starting to get a little slick, of course, depending on where you are. And we do have team coverage tonight, starting with our Jay Shakur, who is out in live drive in Carrollton, Kentucky. Jay, what are you seeing right now?
Valerie, I am seeing some snow accumulate here on the roads here. Steve just mentioned a little dusting, and that is the perfect description here, about 55 miles southwest of Cincinnati. Now, as it concerns state routes, KYTC tells us they have pre-treated the roads. Their big push was to do much of that this morning. KYTC also has worked with certain localities to provide salt in places like Covington and Newport. We're told there will be more than 130 plows out during this storm, with crews working in 12-hour shifts to get the roads cleared in this 11-county KYTC district. In Carrollton, it was essentially a ghost town. A few cars out, but other than that, completely quiet, with residents staying home. Carrollton looks like, as I said, a ghost town. But one local restaurant, I found a couple there enjoying the calm before the storm.
We've had stoves here before, especially in the valley here, that usually has a lot of moisture content, so that's not uncommon. But to see the temperatures that low and being more of a kind of a fluffier snow, it's going to be it'll be something to see.
Now, roads will be difficult and at times impassable, so officials are urging everyone to stay off the roads, particularly going into tomorrow, when we will possibly see nonstop snow for several hours. Tonight at 11, I have more on the road conditions throughout Kentucky. In Carrollton, Jay Shakur, WCPO 9 News.
All right, thanks, Jay. Stay safe out there. And tonight we are learning that federal aid is on its way to Kentucky after the Trump administration approved an emergency declaration for this weekend's winter storm. Governor Andy Beshear shared the news in a post on X late this afternoon, saying in part, quote, "This means federal aid is immediately available. This will help us protect lives, and I am grateful for this crucial support." Now we'll let you know how that funding will be used as more details become available. But turning back now to Ohio, WCPO 9 News reporter Connor Stephan joins us with plans from ODOT crews. Now, Connor, earlier we checked in with you. You were driving around. You've also been checking in with grocery stores tonight.
We've seen quite a few shoppers out at the Kroger and Hyde Park. Not as many of those we saw yesterday, Valerie. We're also tracking the Cincinnati snowplow tracker right now, which brought us here to Evanston in Grantwood Avenue. Now, this is an area that was marked as a problem in the future, so that means it's going to be a little bit more difficult for snowplow drivers to clear this road. We don't know exactly why, but we assume it's because of how tight the road is, and then you add to that the fact that there's people parked here on the street. Another issue, our newsroom has been seeing cars towed left and right today. We believe it's because of the city's snow emergency designation. Anyone parked on city streets right now considered snow emergency routes will be towed or fined. We actually caught up with one CPD officer towing a car parked on Central Parkway earlier. He said within the first few hours of this effort, more than 100 cars had been moved, though it's not clear how many have been in total. He also said these cars are not being taken to impound lots, rather they're being towed off these emergency routes and onto other roads. As for the Ohio Department of Transportation, more than 140 drivers are getting into position right now. Public Information Officer Kathleen Fuller says the cold temperatures will complicate this cleanup.
Is going to be a limiting factor for us, because if it's really, really cold, materials aren't going to work. They're not going to help melt anything. So you have the combination of a lot of snow compacted to the roadways, and then it becomes kind of frozen to it.
Some MoDOT crews are laying down pre-wetted salt right now on bridges, overpasses, and ramps. They mix salt with the materials that have lower freezing points to help combat the cold. Now again, we are seeing a steady snowfall where we are, and you can see the snow sticking to the roadways at this moment. Now, just like Cincinnati, ODOT has their priority system in place for Cincinnati. Once the snow starts to fall, they're going to focus on priority 1 roads, main roads, as well as emergency corridors for ODOT, that is interstates, as well as some state and federal routes. All that to say, those residential streets, it'll be a while before they're cleared once the snow falls. Right now, we're live in Evanston. Connor Stephan, WCPO 9 News.
All right, thanks, Connor. Now, with all of this snow expected over the next 24 hours, several counties and cities in our region have declared snow emergencies. Now, most are still under a level 1 status, which, as you heard Connor mention earlier, means cars must be moved off of public streets to allow plow trucks to get through. And within the last 30 minutes, Hamilton County issued a snow emergency. And we're seeing those designations in the city of Cincinnati, Reading, Mount Healthy, Springdale, just to name a few. All of them have snow emergencies in effect right now. Blue ash will begin in just under an hour here at 9 o'clock. Meanwhile, in Kentucky, Boone, Campbell, Kenton, Gallatin, and Grant counties are all under a level 1 snow emergency. In Indiana, Ohio, Switzerland, and Dearborn counties, all of those are also under snow emergency status. Now, the Transit Authority of Northern Kentucky says they are suspending their services tonight through Monday morning. They will all stop at 10 p.m. Now, if the bus leaves before then, don't worry, they will still finish the full route. But as of now, Tank is planning to resume operations at 9 a.m. Monday. That's only, of course, if roads are safe to travel. Here in Cincinnati, Metro says it'll operate even with ice or snow this weekend, but detours and delays may be possible. And those buses will be able to get you to the many warming centers open across the area. Cincinnati rec centers have all been activated as shelters, but they will not open again until 6 a.m. and then they will stay open until 7 p.m. Shelter House is the only option for overnight shelter in Hamilton County. It is in the lower level of the Barron Center on Guest Street. Now, I got a chance to speak with the executive director ahead of this storm. She tells me there are 200 beds available for anyone who needs them. They can also do overflow. That plan is in effect. They say they are anticipating extra people during this event. And again, this snow is expected to pick up quickly overnight. So let's check back in with Mark and Steve for a more in-depth look at the timeline and how much snow to expect.
Yeah, we'll start with what's going on radar and some of the now casting that we can do, Valerie, for our 9 first warning weather alert day here for Saturday. As you look at the story at the moment from our 9 first warning Doppler, temperatures are mostly in the teens, but you'll notice in Connorsville, 9 degrees at the moment right now. So as we take it down to our Louisville radar, you'll notice there's some blue shade down there. That indicates a little bit more in the way of a higher level than just some flurries. So we're still going to stay with that light snow. And as we look out to the west and northwest, you'll notice a little of that blue shade as well from our Indianapolis radar. Now, we're going to continue to see this kind of light snow tonight. We're not expecting anything great. Then overnight things change, as you'll find out in a moment from Mark. But, you know, as we were going to Jay and we were going out and taking a look at some of those camera shots, well, you can see why the snow is sticking. These are the road temperatures, according to our 9 first warning Doppler. It goes through some algorithms, and it's showing that the pavement temperature could be as cold as in the teens right at the moment. Now, this is a product we have called Snow Machine, and what it does is it shows us just what the intensity is on radar. And you'll notice for yourself, this is no big deal. Some trace amounts, maybe a little bit more up through Dayton or so, but that's really about it. You'll see that little bit that's happening outside our studios here and on Gilbert Avenue there. Take you over to the west side. Well, you can see some of the snow in the parking lot there. Tracks are fine as long as the cars are going by. As we take you over to Highland Heights at NKU, and you see the winds have picked up a little bit. We've seen some gusts to about 20, 22. And finally, I've got one more shot for you. We take you out to Ripley County and Franklin, where there's, again, a nice little coverage across the area. This is going to continue happening, but the big main act comes at midnight and overnight. Mark's got that for you now.
Yeah, Steve, let's time it out for you on Future View. We'll start things off at 9 o'clock tonight. You can see the entire map already blue. That's that widespread snow that we have out there. So let's put things into motion. Again, most of it for now will be light over the next few hours. Then as we go into Sunday morning, notice some darker blues on Future View. Those are those heavier pockets of snow. And I mentioned this a little bit earlier. See some of that pink showing up on Future View, mainly south and southeast of greater Cincinnati, and that's where it should stay. That's the potential for a little bit of sleet and maybe a few pockets of some freezing rain. If you see that transition tomorrow morning and the potential tomorrow afternoon at times, that's going to chop at your snow totals, maybe as much as 2 or 3 inches, depending how long it lasts. But obviously freezing rain can cause just as much of a travel issue. And you're probably wondering, temperatures are in the teens. How is it not just snowing? Well, this Arctic air is more dense than the warm air that it's replaced. So basically, if you look at the atmosphere, it has wedged itself under the warmer air. So now we have cold air at the surface and up above warmer air, and that can melt some of the snow as it falls through the atmosphere, and then it refreezes as it gets back down here into these temperatures in the teens. So that's what's happening there, even though it is so cold. But again, Cincinnati, northward, northwestward, we should stay as all snow. By lunchtime, steady snow continues with temperatures barely in the low 20s. And then we're looking at temperatures again, low to mid 20s tomorrow afternoon. But you can see at 3, 4 o'clock in the afternoon, still widespread snow. But I think around 3 or 4 o'clock, we start to see it break apart just a little bit. More lighter pockets start to mix in. And I think by 7, 8 o'clock tomorrow night, the snow very quickly starts to push north and east out of the tri-state. So here's what we're thinking for totals, the timeline. Again, midnight tonight, 1 to 3 inches. By 8 o'clock tomorrow morning, 4 to 6 inches. Early afternoon, 6 to 8 inches. And there's our final tally of 8 to 12 inches tomorrow evening. Again, the exception to that would be if you see that quick transition into some sleet or freezing rain. So with some impacts, of course, snow-covered, impassable roadways at times, not only Sunday, but even into Monday. Like we mentioned earlier in the show, crews will struggle with not only the amount of snow, but these low temperatures. It's going to be hard to melt it. Where we see some of those icy areas could have a couple power outages. No matter where you are in the tri-state, though, probably not a bad idea to keep your smart devices charged up just in case. So as far as those impacts, on the medium side tonight, you can get around if you still need to. But throughout the day Sunday, very high travel impact and a pretty high travel impact going to continue into Monday morning. So parents, we know what that means. If you've got kiddos going to school Monday, be prepared to have them home at least Monday and have that plan in place. Now, again, if it wasn't for the snow, we'd be talking about this brutal stretch of cold coming in. Here's a big picture view. Where you see the purple across the country and a lot of the country pretty far south, that's that Arctic air that has once again taken over our region. Notice, though, it's with us Tuesday, it's with us Wednesday, it's with us on Thursday. Remember last week, every once in a while we'd shove it back to the north where it belongs? That's not happening this week. We are stuck with it and locked in to that brutal cold weather. So overnight tonight, of course, the snow picks up, especially after midnight, around 12 degrees tomorrow morning. 20 for a high as the snow continues. And then Monday, some sunshine, but look at that temperature. 4 in the morning, 12 in the afternoon. Dare I talk wind chills? Let's do it. In the morning on Monday, feeling like -5 to -10. Wind chill never gets above 0 Monday afternoon. And Tuesday morning will be brutal as the kiddos maybe go back to school. Wind chills of -10 to -20. Then Tuesday, near 20. By the way, weather alert day in effect for Monday due to the extreme cold, and that continues throughout the week. Wednesday and Thursday, temperatures in the afternoon in the teens, and then single digits continue for the weekend in the mornings, 20s in the afternoon into early next week.
Absolutely brutal. All right, everyone, please stay home, stay safe, and be warm. That is it for this weather update. Of course, we will be keeping an eye on things on this system 24/7 so we can keep you informed. And you can find all those updates on WCPO.com and the WCPO 9 News app. We'll see you again at 11.